Anyone trade MDXG yesterday? Pretty common for on the report cards that Dr. Steenbarger and I look at for there to be guys who went from very green to red. I certainly did as well. I thought it was an unusual reversal. I didn't see the bottom in it. It had a really negative news catalyst in it. I thought that the way it went up from the bottom around 6, generally when something turns around like that, I did actually a good job of covering down into it, but I did a bad job of putting on risk again too early near the bottom. I actually was taking off. Some stock. So generally, you want to see kind of a blow off bottom. You want to see increasing volume to identify the bottom. You see some of that there. I don't think that's really a classic example of an increase in volume and a sort of a blow up volume with a wick. It was definitely, it was weak there, but it did not feel like we were near the bottom. At least I didn't see it. And so some of us got caught trying to sort of trade out of, I think a lot of guys didn't cover at all, and then they were trying to trade out of it. I got caught adding, I was taking off, and then I added too early, and then I was trying to trade out of it, and really never could. But today, we have that unusual move from 6 all the way up to 740 area, and we open up today, and so in the back of our minds, our thesis is this could pull back in to at least 680. Maybe it'll go to 650. Maybe it'll even just turn around. When we opened, you really could see, and I was calling this out. You really could see weakness at 745. There was a lot of selling up there, and then there was a big bid that was sitting there at 745 that tried to buy it and just got whacked, and then tried to recapture that 745, and it did something that you really want to notice, which is it showed you above 745, but they were whacking the bids at like 42 cents and 43 cents, so they kind of showed you 47 on the offer and 48 on the offer, and then they were whacking the bids at 42 and 43. Essentially, somebody just had a really strong sell order in there. So we saw, that was the first thing I saw, was just the heaviness and the resistance at 745 in a stock that we think at least should go down to 680, maybe even better. And then it was trading between 35 cents, that held the bid, and 38 cents, and that was sort of holding the offer. And so I added a little bit more risk when it couldn't really trade above 45 cents. And I noticed, I saw it, we say that a lot, I want to see it, I want to see it, I want to see it, I have a thesis that this should trade lower, I want to see it, I want to see it, I want to see it. And you could see it at 45 cents, and I was mentioning that there's heaviness here. And so I put on a little bit more risk there, and then I said to myself, maybe they're just buying it here at 35 cents to really set me up for a move above 50 cents and above 60 cents, where I would have gotten completely flat. I did take some overnight. I would have been flat above 60 cents. That would have been a new high from yesterday's highs, and I would have waited for it to go to the 2-day VWAP, which is up to near, I think, 830. And so, but it's 35 cents by 38 cents after the first move below there. And I was saying to myself, if it gets below 35 cents, I'm just going to hit it. I'm just going to go for it. Because now, again, now the momentum, again, is more to the downside. Now I have a repeating pattern from yesterday. It failed up there at 40 cents yesterday, went all the way back down to 680. I've got price action in my favor. I'm in a position of strength. It's just failing. And it did, and I hit it pretty hard. And I did the best I could to sort of cover some of it. I covered sort of into the move towards 7. I covered a little bit more in towards 680. And sort of that's where I'm at. Looks like it spiked up a little bit. I got out of a lot of it into the down move. I have about maybe 20% left of the original position. I didn't see that. I guess that happened right during the meeting.
Yeah.
I would have liked to have shorted again 25 cents. I'm wrong about 50 cents. I'm wrong about 60 cents. But that was one thing that we were trading today. I know, Thomas, you were trading that as well. I think you got flat. You know, the other thing was that 680 today, they really bought too much. And that, I was sort of saying to myself, let me hold the core, let me hold the core, let me hold the core. And when they bought too much there at 680, I really started to get out of a lot more of it, and took off a lot more risk. So I changed my thought process of holding the core because of what I saw. There was too much buying. And it wasn't just there was too much buying, there was way too much buying at 680. It was way too much. It was way too much of a hell bid. So I ended up adapting to my overall thought of, hey, just hold it, just be the man, like just hold the core, like, you know. No, it's like they were buying too much down there. Like, how do I know? So I ended up taking off a lot of risk there. Stops 51 cents, stops 61 cents. If I would have been on the desk, I would have shorted a little bit more at 25 cents. Particularly that I took off at 8 cents. All right, that was one. Anyone else trade that? Any questions about that?
When you were watching it come back up into VWAP,
Yep.
Were there any thoughts going through your head about that?
Yeah, I thought it was going to go to, so it fails from 35 cents, right? And I thought it was going to potentially get back up to that 35, 39 area. So, and I was talking to Thomas about this. I put on a little bit more size at 19 cents, put on a little bit more size at 24 cents when it came into VWAP. I did think it was going to go to 35 cents, and I really wanted to wait to see it turn because I was a little bit, I was thinking about me just being completely wrong and getting blown out above 50 cents. I was thinking I was going to make the same mistake I made yesterday of being of getting too aggressive on the short side at a bad price. So, and I didn't see it turn. I wasn't watching it closely enough at VWAP at 25 cents, but I would have thought of maybe adding, we were talking about that. I was thinking about maybe adding a little bit more. My primary prices were 34 and 39 cents to add a lot more size back on that I took off into 7 and 90 cents. But I just didn't see, I wasn't watching it closely enough there. But that, yeah, that's a good thought. It's a good thought. It goes back up to VWAP and rolls over and you sort of see it. Yeah, I think that's right. All right. I'll just mention, let's just talk about the CRZO. So I'm not proud to point this out. I'm going to state that for the record. And, you know, I know we have this really fancy intellectual job. And we throw around a lot of money here and we're all trying to make a lot of money. But there's a trade that really works. And, you know, and we could probably teach it to my son who's 4.5. He'd probably understand it. And Eli and I were watching this. We were short. I got short. Got stopped out pretty quickly at 81 cents and 86 cents, and then shorted it again in front of 15, seeing if it would break the range earlier in the morning. Stopped above 15, so I kind of lost, put it back on in front of 15, stopped 15.01, and wanted to see if it would break below 70 cents, and it did, and it went down to the 45 area, and I ended up getting flat. And we were watching it down there, and I was covering it down there because it was the bottom of the range from the open, and so I kind of lost, I won, took it off, and we were like watching it at 45 cents, and I had an automatic short into the system at 44 cents because they were buying so much at 45 cents. They were testing it, they were hitting it, and it just wouldn't drop. It was classic and unusual hold on the bid. It just was buying, they were buying it at the same price, and they were hitting it hard. There was velocity to how they were hitting the bids, and it wasn't dropping. And that was unusual. It should have, you know, why aren't you going to buy that stock at 40 cents and 35 cents? Because you're so anxious to buy it, you got to sit there and buy it at 45 cents. Somebody wants it so bad, they're unwilling to risk trying to buy it at 40 cents and 35 cents. So it's a signal that there's a bunch of buying. Plus, it's SSR, it's down over 10%. And so you've got some people that are potentially caught trapped on the short side. But this is a potentially really good scalp play. I know Swang makes this trade all the time. Unusual hold on the bid at 45 cents. You got something down 10%. You can buy the stock and set your stop at 44 cents and see if it'll go up. Sell it into the, scalp it into the up move. I didn't know that it was going to go to 85 cents, but I did think it could go up to 65 cents. And, you know, if you trade with a little bit of size, you can make $1,000 with literally, you can make $1,000 risking $30 off of something like that. Now, you know, the win rate's not going to be huge, but that's a legitimate trade for people to scalp. And yeah.
If I could just jump in quickly, Bastian, you and I were talking about volatility breakout trade in individual names. And by the way, folks, this is Bastian. He's interviewing here, so be hospitable to him. Anyway, but you see how the contracted range here, some would call that a wedge, but yeah, the contracted range, and then we break out and see how the volatility now is moving in the direction of that trade. That's the scalp that Bella is talking about. So you can think of it as volatility contracting, volatility is going to mean revert, go back to its norm, and you catch the direction of that moving volatility. Always nice to be with the big bars, kind of like happy hour.
Yeah, and I would have hit it below. Anyway, that was, we were sort of sitting there saying, should we get long? Should we get long? And we didn't get long. And then, because it's like, it's just a stupid, it's like such an intellectually boring, but I mean, you know, that's our job, is to make money and to control risk, and it's a good scalp trade. So, anyway, I thought I'd point that out. And then THC, this is an example of, you were actually talking about this, Andrew, about volatility overall and how you noticed something yesterday, which we'll talk about. But I noticed, like THC, you see how it fails at 10 o'clock, a little bit around 10 o'clock, and has that pretty big bar to the downside. See how it has that big red bar around 10 and 10:05 to the downside? Breaks sort of the range that it's in, breaks below VWAP. It moves away from price quite a bit for a $21.50 stock. It's in a sector that's having a lot of trouble. It's up a lot. To me, that got interesting. Like, maybe I want to try and short this at a good price. Now, I don't want to short this at 21.15. And I'm looking at that, I'm like, well, I really missed the short right there below VWAP. But let me set an alert. All right, and so, and let me put some orders in. So I ended up putting in orders at 39 cents and 47 cents. And I noticed I got taken at 39 cents for a little bit. And then I noticed I got taken again at 47 cents. Not for particularly a ton of size, but I just sort of wanted to be in it at prices to sort of be in it. And then I noticed that because I was in it and I had a position and I was watching it more closely, and then I noticed it was right at VWAP. And what was the market doing? I mean, the market was coming off like, I mean, the market was really coming off. I mean, the market was, you know, really taking profit. And this stock is just not going down anymore. And it's sort of sitting right there at VWAP. I mean, it was not going down at all. I mean, look at the SPYs from 1040 to 1050. And so put on a little bit more risk. And then I said to myself, I think I can probably get 21 out of this. Stop 61, 66, 71. And I've got a couple of things I have to do today. So I put a bid in. And actually, I was putting a bid in, and I was like, am I really putting the right bid in? But I thought I could get 21 out of it. And it went to 2170, went to 2070. But I think that's an example of finding an opportunity that hasn't yet reacted to the market yet, that probably will, and taking advantage of that, and having very defined risk. And so that worked out nicely. And Andrew, you said this as we were waiting for breakfast this morning about what you were noticing in VXX.
Yeah.
And it's the same principle.
Talk about it.
Yeah, of course, please.
So, all right, so I noticed this around 13:30 to 14, and then what was it, 14:2? Section here. And then, so these are the same dots at the same time. So VXX created a new low and SPY created a new high, and then SPY created a brand new
All right, so you're
high.
looking at VXX and you're looking at SPY.
Yeah.
All right, so what are you noticing?
Okay, so SPY creates a new high, VXX creates a new low, right? And then SPY creates a brand new high, VXX fails to make a new low. And then up here is when SPY is really creating a new high, and yet VXX is trading up here. So if you notice the pattern down here, you could get in here, but even if you notice it here, like, you could get in here as well, because if SPY goes up, seemingly not losing, and SPY cracks, which it happened to here, then you make a huge move. That's the pattern that I was noticing.
All right, so you're noticing a pattern between VXX and SPY and a lag, and what you think VXX ought to be doing based on the overall market. And then, another thing to be looking at is really the fixed futures as well. So that's a good measurement as well. You sort of notice some patterns between that. It's fixed is kind of interesting, VXX, in that some days it's really very easy to trade. Some days most days it's easy to trade. Every once in a while it's not. But that's a good instrument to be trading on market stock. Dr. Steenbarger, anything you're noticing about the market overall, marketplace overall, that is catching your attention? I know Shark made a nice market play as he's working on getting broader with his trading. About a day and a half ago, around 2:30, noticing an ability for the market to potentially squeeze and some people to be oversubscribed at the short side. Anything you're watching, we should be watching in marketplace?
Yeah, I thought there was some decent stuff. If you could do the SPYs, just for the day session here today. Very good. All right, now let's focus on right here. Okay, just this, you see this consolidation right here. So we came down, right down here. Okay, well, let's focus on that. And then if you put up the NYSE tick, that'll be $TICK.
Separate.
Yeah, TICK. You do like a 1 minute for the day session. Just for today. Okay, can you get to the start of the day? Okay. Well. So here's a little pattern that I look at in short-term trading. See how we came down in the tick, and we're bottoming in that -300, -400 area. Coming down here, and we're having trouble making new lows. In fact, the small caps didn't make new lows. A number of sectors were not making lows relative to the open. As you move forward here, on the negative ticks, we're actually holding up in price. So all of this congestion, all of the selling here, you're not getting significant negative ticks. That leads to the up move here. Now what got interesting, so that's the setup. you're getting selling, but it's not significant selling, it's only at that negative 300 level. Then we move up higher. Now look what happened when we came down here, and look at this period in here, and during this period from a little after 10:30 forward, now the opposite thing is happening. We are at lower levels of down ticks versus up ticks. And during this congestion, price is moving lower. So on the bounces up in the tick, this is where I was short, that was at the like 10:44 thereabouts. You can barely bounce higher in the SPYs. So now the opposite is happening. Selling is dominating, and when you are making another low in the ticks, the S&P is no longer holding up. Here it was holding up. So the relationship you want to look at is the upticks, downticks. How weak are they, and how is price behaving relative to the upticking, downticking? So you hit negative 500, it bounces, hit negative 500 again. What's happening to price during that time? And if you're going to go higher, you want to see price diverge to the upside. And when it gets lower, price is diverging to the downside. Ends up creating a good short trades. But these are very short-term patterns that you can pick up with the upticks, downticks.